Yesterday in Davos, Switzerland, Trump suggested that he is working with Democrats to pass another major tax package. Now let's hear more about Trump's plans. We're bringing in Brendan Arnold. He is the Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union. Good morning, Brendan. Good to see you. Now, first, can you just give us a rough picture of what you're expecting to see and what some of the most impactful changes are that President Trump could be eyeing?
Yeah, there's going to have to be big changes because a lot of the tax bill that was passed back in 2017 during the first Trump administration is going to expire at the end of the year. So that means all the individual rate cuts that we experienced, the expanded child tax credit, the pass-through deduction, which helps small businesses and family businesses, all of these changes are going to completely expire. So we absolutely need a new tax bill that extends some of these provisions and hopefully goes a little bit further in spurring the kind of manufacturing rebirth and economic growth that Trump has been talking about. I think we can achieve that, but it's going to be an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, interesting. Now, let me touch on one thing first. So many have actually been talking about that Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that is set to expire. Now, what are the can you just tell me a little bit more in detail, like what are the provisions in there in this act and who exactly would benefit from a possible extension?
Yeah, I mean, back in 2018, when the law took effect, about 80% of Americans received a tax reduction, averaging more than $2,000 apiece. So if this tax bill is absolutely kaput, if we allow it to expire at the end of the year as it's scheduled to do, those are the types of tax increases that people are going to experience. The bill not only reduced taxes, but it actually simplified the tax code by expanding the standard deduction. So now more than 90% of Americans who file their taxes are able to take that standard deduction, which dramatically simplifies the tax code for those people. We will lose these benefits. We'll lose the double child tax credit, the lower rates, the pass-through deduction, so many of these important provisions that help everyday Americans, as well as job creators in our small business community, are going to go away if we do not take action to extend them and, even better, make them permanent.
Right, so that's definitely something a lot of people have their eyes on. Also, what about the changes that President Trump proposed on Social Security taxes? That's something that has been making headlines, and Trump wants to eliminate taxes on Social Security income because I know this has been a controversial issue as well. If you could explain that and how it could impact retirees as well.
Yeah, I mean, cutting the taxes on Social Security income, I love lower taxes, don't get me wrong here, but I think this idea is a little bit problematic in that we already have a Social Security trust fund that is on its way to complete depletion and bankruptcy. Unfortunately, the program has not been managed well, and it needs to be reformed and restructured to make sure seniors get the benefits that they were promised. If we provide this additional tax reduction in the form of tax-free Social Security benefits, what we'll do is actually accelerate the demise of the Social Security Trust Fund. So if we're going to do this, we also need to accompany this change with structural reforms to the program to make sure it has the long-term viability that seniors are relying upon.
So you're saying that it depends. Right now, seniors don't necessarily need to be worried yet, but it depends on how it will be implemented, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have at least 9 or so years before Social Security loses the ability to pay benefits, at which point we could see nearly 20% reduction in benefits if Congress doesn't take corrective action. So yeah, we're on a dangerous course here. It's not something that is imminent within the next couple of years, but in the not too distant future, we are going to have to make some changes to the program. And if we remove the taxation that's applied to Social Security benefits currently, that accelerates that process and makes it even more dire a situation.
Got it. So those nuances are so important to know. Also, Trump has coined the term ERS, External Revenue Service. Tell me more about that. That's also interesting. And if it could actually collect taxes or, tariffs from foreign nations, because currently there is an established system in place that is collecting tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, right now we collect tariffs from importers, U.S. companies typically. We collect tariffs from importers via the customs process. So this notion that we're going to go collect tariffs from other countries, I don't think it makes a ton of sense, frankly. I think we should continue with the approach we have. I don't think we should be expanding the reach of tariffs at this point. Again, tariffs are paid primarily by American businesses and American consumers. And furthermore, when we're talking about imports to this country, the majority of imports are either intermediate goods or raw materials. These are things that our manufacturing sector relies upon to produce high quality consumer level goods and sell them not just to American consumers, but sell them all over the world. So if we're raising the cost of these and if we're expanding the reach of the External Revenue Service, creating this new government agency, all we're doing is hurting our own manufacturers who are trying to compete with their global rivals across the country. I think that's a really problematic approach.
So with all the tax cuts that President Trump has floated also during his campaign, are you worried about government debt and federal income?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, we have a $36 trillion debt. We saw tremendous increases in spending during the pandemic. And, that made sense in certain circumstances because we shut down businesses and it was hard to raise a family under those circumstances when you couldn't collect a paycheck. But guess what? Once the pandemic was gone, that additional spending that we tacked on should have disappeared as well. Unfortunately, it didn't. It ratcheted up. We need to get spending back down to where it was in the 2018, 2019 pre-pandemic timeframe. And that needs to be part of this process here. We need to be fiscally responsible as we extend these tax cuts and hopefully create pro-growth tax policy that's going to help people create jobs, grow the economy, and so forth, drive up wages. But yeah, we need to do so in a fiscally responsible way. We can't continue to add red ink to future generations who will eventually have to pay off our overspending and fiscal mismanagement.
Got it. Yeah, such a big topic to talk about. Fortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Brendan Arnold. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.